Good morning, friends. Walter, would you close the doors? And it's good to see you all here today, all looking very summery. Tom, you have the honor of having the coolest shirt in the congregation today. So thank you. Glad you could bring that. Good morning. I want to extend a warm welcome to you today. Everyone is welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your age, your race, or the gender with which you identify. You are welcome here regardless of your income, your educational level, your religion, or your position in society. You are welcome here regardless of who you love or who you vote for. You are welcome here regardless of the regrets that burden you or the mistakes you have made. In this beloved community, we support each other in the sacred task of becoming, celebrate the transcending mystery of life, and rely on the transforming power of love. It is our work to walk with each other along the spiritual pathways that lead towards happiness, compassion, and life fully lived. We are here to stand on the side of love in all things. In this place, we create the structures that lift up the downtrodden, set the captives free, and heal the brokenhearted. We have learned that to be fully human is to be fully divine, and that with a little help from our friends, we can tell our own unique stories. So today is an intergenerational service, so the kids will be with us for the whole hour. Our activity for today is to make a Parents' Day card. For the young ones, this will allow them to create something that shows their parents or grandparents how much they appreciate them. You can make more than one card if you'd like. It will be a little harder for those of us who are older. Some of us, our parents are deceased. Even if your parents are passed on, I hope you will take this opportunity to make a card to say something to your parents that you wish you would have told them when they were here. I'm hoping those that come to us on Zoom will also write something they would like to say to their parents, even though they will not get to make a card. For instance, my relationship with my dad was a bit rocky at times. We had big differences in our political and religious outlooks. I wish I would have told him that he should not worry about me. I think he did. That I was following a path that he, at least in part, made possible by his love and support for me when I was growing up. There will be more instructions on card making when we begin our activity. And a special thank you to Tina and Bridget and Rachel for helping out today. So, and for all the young ones who've come and have already started their projects. So, and as you can see, there's magazines, calendars to cut pictures of. But the most important thing, both for the young and for the old, is the message you would like to send to your parents, living or dead. So let's now take a moment to just compose ourselves a little bit. Take a deep breath. There's just a lot happening in the world: school shootings and the hearings on January 6th, the war in Ukraine, and the continuing deprivation of millions of people because of refugeeism and lack of food. So let's take a moment just to breathe deeply, and let's just be for a little bit. Let's continue with our chalice lighting. And Leanne, since you're sitting out front, would you like the chalice while I read the words? Yes, it does work much of the time. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love. Thank you, Leanne. And now let's turn to our affirmation, which should be appearing on our screen very shortly. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Okay, our special music today brought to you with a great deal of anticipation and much rehearsal. Go ahead and bring it. You just witnessed the creative process at work, folks. So thank you. Okay. Thank you, Judy, for being willing to do that. Now let's go to our intergenerational activity. So here's what way we're going to do this. We're going to take about 15 or 20 or maybe a little more minutes, and we're going to invite you to come forward and pick up a card, some cardstock. Can someone hand me a piece of cardstock? I want to demonstrate this part because it's very tricky. Yeah, let me see it. Yeah, what? Oh, this. Oh, wow. You know, I said a parent. Whose card is this? Oh, well, very good. You got everyone covered: mom, grandma, grandpa, dad, aunt, uncle. Okay, so and then pay attention because this is very difficult. You have to take the piece of cardstock and bend it in half. Okay, and that's it. So if you can do that. Now, as I said, many of you parents, okay, honey, you can pass them out. Many of you have parents who are deceased. I invite you to take this time to think about something, a message you might like to write to them. I know, as I mentioned before, my relationship with my dad wasn't always the greatest, but as I get older, the more I realize that I played a part in some of the demise of that relationship, or not demise, but some of the difficulties in that relationship. So we're going to pass out cardstock, and we have pens and stuff here, and we invite you in the next few minutes, I'm not going to be speaking, just come on up, grab a magazine that looks interesting and cut a piece out of it. To tape to your card or draw something, or there's stickers here, there's color crayons. We have the whole ball of wax. So why doesn't everyone begin that process right now? And we will, in a few minutes, continue after everyone has gathered their stuff. Oh, don't be shy. You can come up and grab a book. Our magazine, I think we have a calendar or two here too, so please come forward and help yourselves. And all the while be thinking of a message that you would like to share, not share, but to send to your parents.
Jim, I'm going to, something popped into my head earlier this morning and it's been rolling in there. And when Jim said, share it, I thought, well, this is a good idea. Anyway, I have in my mind an older man, and I don't know where I saw it or heard it, but it kind of stuck. We grow too soon old and too late smart.
Thank you, Dorothy. That there's a lot of truth in that. Others who would like to say something, we'll let everyone gather their material before we start. Let all the adults gather their stuff in who want to. Julie, did you want a card? Bridget, I'm holding the card. That was good, Judy. That just gives us a little traveling music, and I appreciate it. You must have taken some of those out of the Stephen Foster's songbook, huh?
I have things up here that do come up with.
Ah.
I don't do a whole lot of it, that's where I get them from, unfortunately.
Thank you, Judy. So we're going to have a little, since we're still working on, most of us are still working on our cards, including Leanne and Bridget, who are, not Bridget, but Leanne. Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to speak first, because I want everyone to be able to hear Leanne and when she speaks, and as well as Judy. So here's my variation on the theme for today. When my son Brian was 14 or 15, he was an all-city wrestler. As a little kid, he enjoyed surprising me by ambushing me and initiating an impromptu wrestling match. As a 55-pound 8-year-old, this was a great deal of fun for both of us. By the time he was 14, a head taller and 20 pounds heavier than me, the contest grew more serious. One day, he managed to pin me, and there was nothing I could do about it. His mother appeared at the door of the room and said, "That is it. No more wrestling. Brian, you are going to hurt your dad." Brian jumped up and said, "Ha ha, Dad, I can beat you now." And I said, "Brian, long after I am in the grave, you will still be wrestling with me." This is an important truth. Kids pick up most of their social programming from their parents. What you do and say matters. If your communications are full of pettiness, gossip, judgment, and hatred of the world or specific others in the world, like immigrants, conservatives, or hippies, you will program your child to be narrow, closed off, and full of spite. He or she will judge themselves the way you judge the world. They will be handicapped in their relationship to themselves and others. If, on the other hand, you interface with the world with grace, understanding, and compassion, the child will learn from you to interact with their inner and outer worlds in the same manner. When the child's way of being is one of grace, they can be gracious to themselves and others and are much less likely to be estranged from themselves. A kid raised in grace will feel much more able to experiment with different ways of being, which will help your child as a young adult be in the world in a productive, positive, authentic way. And by the way, my kids are in their 40s and 30s. I suspect that they are still watching me now to see how I choose to live my life, especially the challenges I encounter. In a way, I am still parenting them. But let's go a little deeper. The shorthand for all the above is if you want to have authentic kids, you have to be authentic yourself. You may ask, how then does one be authentic? Imagine that your mind is like a house. Your house is a nice house on a nice block. You know it very well. It turns out, however, that there is a basement in your house where you seldom go. It is your subconscious mind. In the basement are banks and banks of computers. Computers are running all the time. There are literally tens of thousands of subroutines running on these computers. The computers are your cultural programming. They're always there serving you, informing you how to be. Your parents and the society you live in have programmed these computers so you will know what to do in any situation. Say thank you to the waitress who brings you a piece of pie. Always face forward in elevators. Don't stand too close or too far away when conversing with a friend. Don't pass gas loudly in church. That was not directed at anyone here. So, always tell your mothers their babies are cute. Sometimes our basement computers, there are harmful programs running. You should feel ashamed of yourself for having a thought like that. You will just never be any good. If you don't work hard, people will not love you. You always have to be right. If you speak up, people will know how stupid you are, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea. The problem is that the computers in the basement are constantly sending you a barrage of messages that pretty much crowd out any authentic being. To be an authentic person so you can be an authentic parent who have kids who are working on their own authentic being, one has to find a way of turning down all that noise coming from the basement. Being authentic means being able to tune into and respond to that still small voice we all have within us. The still small voice is the voice of primal love that has brought this version of creation into being and is right now active in every subatomic particle in your body, creating and recreating you every second of every day. And I'm going to repeat that. The still small voice is the voice of primal love that has brought this version of creation into being and is right now active in every subatomic particle in your body, creating and recreating you every second of every day. Fortunately, our species has developed many time-honored ways of amplifying the still small voice. Because love is the heart of all creativity, involving oneself in an art like poetry, music, mathematics, science, carpentry, gardening, dance, etc., are wonderful tools of amplifying the still small voice. Additionally, there are the ancient spiritual technologies of amplification that humanity has used for tens of thousands of years. Meditation, prayer, contemplation, sacred ritual, sacrifice for the good, vision quest, and beloved community. All the above are available to help us open ourselves to the creative voice of love as it works in us to make us into real people and not the automatons we can become when our thoughts and actions are merely a response to our cultural programming. The bottom line, when we do the practices that keep us open to creative love, we are more authentic people who can help our children have more authentic lives, no matter what age the child be they 40 or 60 or more. Interestingly, there is a relatively new way of amplifying the voice of primal love. It is the spiritual discipline of psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is about opening the door to the basement of your mind and going down into the darkness and examining what is going on down there. The technique is to use one's feeling response as a staircase that takes one to the part of the unconscious mind that is sending you dysfunctional messages and do a little positive reprogramming. Over 3 decades ago, back when I was a United Methodist minister, a bright, pretty, academically accomplished teen girl from our Methodist youth group cheerfully revealed to me that she was cutting herself on the inside of her thigh with a razor blade. With the girl's permission, I talked to her mother and recommended a course in therapy. Perhaps a year later, the girl revealed to me that she had quit cutting. She had learned that by creating a place to examine her feelings, that she could heal herself. She discovered that cutting had given her some relief from a deep sense of shame she felt over some incidents of abuse by a family member, or actually family friend, when she was about 12. By being willing to stop the cutting in order to stay with her shame, she was able to experience healing, or, as I like to say, she gave primal love a space to work. In a way, shame became her teacher, in a way for the girl to create a healing chapter in her life story. The genius of psychotherapy, whether you go to a professional or do your own, is that it uses the places where you are broken as the opening through which healing can enter. The reason I tell that story is because psychotherapy can become a potent means of working towards, especially for humanists, working towards being an authentic person and parent. Fortunately, you can be your own therapist. You can identify the difficult feelings that lead to disequilibrium and give them a space to become your teacher, which they will. If you are willing to bear tough feelings instead of dumping them on others or acting out on them, creative love can begin its work. For instance, imagine that you have a coworker that really gets your back up. You have all kinds of uncharitable, judgmental thoughts about your coworker. Further, you are having lots of angry, imaginary, internal dialogues with him or her. Does this relate to anybody here at all? Okay. These dialogues may have taken over much of your life. You have a choice. You can continue with the anger, judgment, and hurt feelings and promote difficulty in the workplace and harm to your health. Or you can invite your anger in to become your teacher. When we withdraw our projections from their targets, the healing can begin. This is not a quick process. It may take weeks or months or years. The reward is, however, great. The more we are able to pull in our projections, the more we are able to experience love, compassion, and understanding for the other and for ourselves. The more we are able to take responsibility for our difficult feelings and learn from them, the better parents we become. Interestingly, the great Sufi poet Rumi foreshadowed the method of psychotherapy when he said in the 13th century, "Your wound is where the light enters you." So psychotherapy is not a new discipline. We, over time, may become thankful for our wounds because they become doorways to healing. It is not usually interpreted this way, but could Jesus have been talking about this dynamic when he said, "The very stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone"? This sermon has been about parenting. The theme of the sermon is the greatest gift we can give to our kids is the tools of being an authentic person. We do that by being authentic people ourselves. Being authentic means being able to listen to the still small voice of love over the din of all the cultural programming running on a closed loop in our unconscious minds. To be clear, our cultural programming is important. We need it to function in life. It, however, often takes over, leaving little room for freedom and creativity. The spiritual disciplines teach us how to use our programming as tools for creating our own artful lives, much as the sculptor uses his chisel to create her art. Now let's take a little time for Leanne and for Judy. Leanne, can you be up first? Okay.
So that's my dad, Jim Thomas. And this was his hat. So he passed some of his wisdom on to me. And that is what I want to say about being a good dad is scary, being close to the mic. That's what I want to say about being a good dad is to be able to give, I won't say advice because you've heard that the definition of unasked for advice is criticism, right? So to be able to give counsel, as my friend Edgar said to me one time, you know, to a teenager and have them actually be able to hear it and actually remember it when they're 56 years old, I think that is a good dad. And also right up there with that is the humor, because that helps for me to be able to hear something. So here are a few good examples. Your head is about the consistency of a watermelon. So anything you don't want to have happen to a watermelon, you don't want to have happen to your head. And I think he told me that when I was sawing like a branch over my head, right? Which made me think about that. And I always think about that now. You know, you can put gas in your car before the red light comes on. And he told me that when I was in high school, and they picked me up like the third time I'd run out of gas, and he picked me up. That's what he said. So he didn't yell at me, he just said that, but I always think about that now when my light comes on. I wish I would have put into practice his advice about compound interest, which I did not do in this lifetime. That was good advice. Thanks, Dad. And when he was dying, he said, life goes on, enjoy your life, which was a real gift. And that it's okay to cry, which it is okay to cry. He said, it wasn't his thing, but he said sometimes, what if for one day we could be kind instead of right? And then he would follow that up sometimes with, you know, I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. So anyways, thanks, Dad. And I still remember all that stuff. And, you know, on the flip side of that, he was also really a good acknowledger. So that's another way of imparting wisdom, is kind of to say, hey, look at, that's a good job you're doing. And a lot of times when he'd come over to my house, when he'd leave, he'd say, you're a good mom. No, that meant a lot, little kid. So, thanks.
Well, Leanne did a brilliant job bringing a picture. I didn't think to bring a picture of my dad. When Jim asked me to put together some thoughts on fatherhood, I thought to myself, I've got two perspectives on fatherhood. The first is my experience of my own father, both as I was growing up, and I was lucky enough to have him on into my adult years. The other perspective I have is that of being married to Tom and seeing his role as a father over the years and being his parenting partner for 43 years. So I guess I'll start with my own dad. Alan Dwayne DeLoach, the most important positives I got from my father were his love of words and writing, his appreciation of art and beauty, and his devotion to family and to my mother. My dad started out in 1927, fresh from Central Michigan Normal School in Mount Pleasant as a reporter for the Benton Harbor News Palladium. So coming to this community, I kind of feel like I've come full circle. By the time I was growing up, he was a newspaper editor of a little weekly newspaper in Southeast Michigan. He sometimes functioned as the conscience of the community when his editorials and news stories highlighted inequities and injustices occurring in and around our small town. As I got older, I became aware of what this sometimes cost him. As subscribers sometimes wrote, and he published angry letters to the editor denouncing his latest position on unsafe working conditions or school millage or migrant housing. I learned that truth matters. My dad was an amateur artist who finally had time to pursue his hobby by taking evening painting classes at the Toledo Museum of Art when I was a teenager. This worked out well because he was able to drop me off at my piano lessons in Toledo, and we had many good chats in the half-hour drive it took us from the little town of Blissfield where I grew up. I remember his pointing out scenes and colors and shapes and discussing artists that he admired, their techniques in portrayal of beauty and nature. I remember his own paintings of nature in which he created a peaceful woodland scene or a shimmering moonlit lake in oils or acrylics or watercolor. Just looking at these paintings many years later, I could almost smell the pine forest and hear the lapping of water against a dock. I learned that beauty matters. My dad was the father of 7 children and managed to survive a good deal of chaos, noise, and uproar as we were growing up. I won't tell you that my dad was the soul of patience, because he wasn't. He had a quick temper, which I unfortunately have inherited. But he managed to appreciate every one of us. He often criticized us at home, but would tolerate no mistreatment of his children by others. I remember arguments back in the 1960s between my dad and my brother Joe about Joe's long hair. But when the principal hassled Joe about it, suddenly my father just happened to have a story he needed to research at the high school, and just happened to have a discussion with the principal, and just happened to bemoan the styles of the day while staunchly supporting the rights of children to make their own decisions. The hassling stopped. My dad loved us all, but he worshiped my mother. I remember one day when he came home from the office looking for my mother and climbing over and around various child and teen bodies draped here and there, and got to the kitchen and found no one there, and said to no one in particular, "Where is everybody?" Meaning, where was my mother? I learned that love matters. Over the years, I've been lucky to learn even more about fatherhood by watching my husband, Tom, doing his best to be a good dad. Both Tom and I had first marriages that didn't work out. By the time we got married, Tom's daughter, Rebecca, was 10 years old. And Tom was sometimes in a very tough place, trying to negotiate peace in the household between a little woman and a big woman. But he loved Rebecca, his little dumpling, fiercely, and she knew it. Nevertheless, she missed some of the wilder parties with Tom's friends that seemed to lessen as time went by. And she once said to me resentfully, "My dad used to be a whole lot of fun before he met you." Tom and I wanted to add to our family, and when a homegrown child didn't seem likely to happen, we adopted first our son Ben and later our daughter Molly from Korea through the Holt Children's Agency. I'll never forget the sight of Tom sitting on the kitchen floor talking to Ben, then 13 months old, who didn't understand a word of English, in his little jump-up chair. And as he prepared Ben's first meal in the United States, scrambled eggs. Or the look on his face when we went for a walk on our quiet country road, and he quickly, in one move, picked Ben up, put him on his shoulder, and picked up a big stick when our neighbor's pit bull got loose and started running towards us. Later, Tom, I remember all the nights that he spent explaining math concepts and helping our kids develop amazing science projects. I remember watching him create a roller skate shaped birthday cake for Rebecca when she was 12 or 13. And 20 years later, I remember the hours he spent building a Victorian dollhouse for Rebecca's daughters. I remember his joy in celebrating all of their birthdays, his love in reassuring all their doubts and worries, his hard work in helping them out with household projects and repairs when they moved into homes of their own. Everything from rewiring a duplex outlet to helping Ben gut and renovate his 1883 farmhouse from top to bottom. Tom hasn't been a perfect father, nor have I been a perfect mother for that matter. But here's some of what Tom has taught me about being a dad. Nobody's perfect, and it's too hard to try. Just do your best. Lead by example. They'll pay attention to what you do, not what you say. Hold them responsible for their choices throughout their lives. And you stand by them when their choices are not the best. You love them unconditionally, especially when they don't seem able to love you back. When they become young adults, you accept that they think you're an idiot and wonder how you ever made it this far in life. And you know it will pass eventually. And you never, never, never give up on them. I think Tom's a pretty great father, and he has grown into a pretty wonderful grandfather to our 7 grandkids from ages 6 to 26. Here's what, don't they say that the proof is in the pudding? Here's what our little grandson Owen wrote on the birthday card that he made for Tom for his 80th birthday last month. Dear Pop-Pop, I love you very much. You are my best friend and my favorite buckaroo. Love, Owen.
Well, thank you, Leanne and Judy, and thanks everyone. We still have a few moments left, and of course, you know, we have to use every second here. So I'd like, if someone on Zoom or someone here would like to share what they wrote to their parents on their card, and that can include little children too. We have someone who's a sharer, I can tell. And just walk up to the microphone and share what you have written on your card. And hopefully we'll hear from some adults too. So if you're in on Zoom, just raise your hand, use your reactions button to raise your hand, and we'll get to you. Anybody want to take a chance? Jeff.
Okay, in my 30 years of marriage, I got the privilege of being a father or a stepfather to my wife's daughter. And so she was, in a sense, loved her father, her original birth father, but he died and he was in heaven. And I was the one that she would take things out on. But she would call me her parent. But I was estranged from my father. This is, there was distance between us. But it surprised me when I came out and I wrote on here, how wonderful you were my parent. And that's what my stepdaughter called me. And I go, I just had an epiphany today. So it's the privilege of being in this community. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a privilege to have you here also. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share before we bring the service to a close? Any kids want to share? Daphne, I see you writing over there. Do you want to share? Oh, okay. Yes. Who is it? Go. Oh, I'm sorry. Rich, I thought you pointing towards the screen. I said, well, where is that? Okay, Rich, come on up.
I'm totally good with being missed because every time I go to a bar, I get the same treatment. That being said, I didn't write a card, but this is written on my heart to my folks and to Sandy's folks. First, to Sandy's dad and mom. Thank you for Sandy. She got all the best. And I can't express how grateful I am for that. Also to my father and my mother. They raised 8 kids. They were wonderfully patient. My dad, like another speaker here, had a gift for words that he passed on to me, along with a Southern streak that was bigger than the biggest JA in the world. And my favorite memory of him was that we're both poets, and he defined poetry as anything that rhymes. When I was in my 20s, I was free verse, and we didn't get over that until I was in about my 40s. But he's given me an appreciation for the words and the wonder of words. And so those are my thanks. Long-winded, but thank you.
Thank you, Rich. That was just right. Yeah, when I saw your hand up, I thought you were pointing to the screen. So, but anyway, thank you. Yeah. Oh, look, there's the congratulations kits. You're going to get a special meal tonight, Rich. So, others who'd like to share anything? Oh, we have one here. Go ahead there, young one. What did you write for your parents?
I wrote, Happy Father's Day. Dear Dad, we love all the work you do around the house. We love when you sit and let me cuddle with you and read. We all appreciate you.
Very nice. Very good. Congratulations. Oh, someone's pointing at you, Oren. Did you write something that you want to share? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, we have one more.
Here, you can probably stand.
I love my dad.
Oh, very good. Yeah, those 4 words go a long way when it comes to allowances. So, other young ones want to share? Anybody on Zoom want to share what they wrote or their thoughts? If not, I think we might be ready for our final hymn. Judy coming forward to gift us with your music again. And thank you, Leanne and Judy, for sharing with us today.
Where is the music? Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you, kids, for leading us. That was great. Thank you all for coming today. Bridget, since you're standing, would you mind extinguishing the chalice while I read the word? The chalice goes dark, but all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true. All is not lost. And now let's join hands, and the kids get in on the two. Let's all get in a circle and sing our final song, our benediction song.